This week on Youth on the Move, we step into the rousing world of a serial entrepreneur who netted millions by creating what others wished for. And later on, it's a youth-led organization with more than 845 million reasons to drive social change. In 2017, Valentine Nekesa was the most sought-after teenager in Kenya after winning the highly coveted Blaze Be Your Own Boss competition, which saw her walk away with a whopping 5 million shillings. Today, Valentine chronicles her journey as a young entrepreneur in the bustling city of Nairobi. But first, who is the lady behind the brand?
I will describe Valentine as, first and foremost, as an entrepreneur, a mom, a wife, and a woman who's all about bringing value to every single thing that she does. Everything that she touches, everyone that she interacts with, that's Valentine. She's all about bringing value to her surrounding.
If everybody is doing it one way, there's a good chance you can find your niche by going exactly in the opposite direction. For Valentine, her niche was fueled by
I'm a concerned person. I'm always so concerned about things around me. Why is this person being handled like this? Why do they have to go through this? And with that need being around, the need being that, because when I started my fashion, it was basically catering for plus size women. So there was that need, and I come from a family of plus size women. So I saw the struggle that came with wanting to go to an event, or just basically wanting to step out looking nice and feeling good about your body. When I decided to get into the venture, it was to solve that need. It troubled me. I felt it doesn't have to be that. Why is it so hard? It doesn't have to be so hard to just get a nice outfit that makes you feel good about yourself. And when I started catering for plus size women. And I started right at home with my family members, just making them feel you are beautiful, because it wasn't about you have bad eating habits or anything. It is genetically. And here's the thing, the African woman is not really a petite woman. Majority of the African woman she's voluptuous. She has features that they're not petite. So with that being there, I saw this is something that can actually grow and it can move into something bigger. And that's how I got into fashion and catering for plus size women.
As humans, we have the ability to influence the direction in which our lives go. But sometimes life operates on its own wavelength. So did Valentine's journey into Blaze.
With my journey moving into Blaze, it wasn't planned, if I can say that. It wasn't planned that, so the next step for my fashion venture is to get into Blaze. I honestly did not know there was such a thing as Be Your Own Boss TV show. And when I was even getting to audition for the TV show, I did not know what I was auditioning for. It just happened. I was going for a summit, for an entertainment summit, and by fortunate or by luck, I was moved to the queue that was heading to the audition tent. And that's how I ended up auditioning for the TV show, which to me it's something that's just happening at the summit, and then it will move forward at the summit and end there on that day. And that's what I thought. Then one day you just get a random call. You've been selected to join the 11 contestants for the Be Your Own Boss TV show. And that's how I ended up at the TV show.
From the outside looking in, winning 5 million sounds like a dream come true. In an instant, money woes are obliterated and the future looks bright, thanks to newfound financial freedom. Sure, it seems fabulous at first glance, but it takes a lot of financial discipline to find the balance.
To be honest about it, it came with a lot of expectations from everyone around me. You've received this, just as you said, you've received this 5 million and you did not have it. And the thing is, the family did not have it. And then everyone expects you to cater for their needs. Everyone expects you to, I need this, or I was looking to do this with my life. So now, Val, you're the plug. You're the one who's going to cater for me. in this venture. And honestly, I probably would have gone that direction, been derailed a bit, or as a person, you know, when you're coming from lack, you're coming from this point where you did not have it and you had lacked a bit. Because to be honest, before I joined the TV show, I was still in university and I had lacked fees. So there's a semester that I had missed out of school because I lacked fees, and I lacked a lot of things in my life. And you know, when you're coming from lack, there's a way you behave with money. You want to spend it, you want to blow it, and yeah, it's a thing that would have been there if I was not prepped prior.
There are two types of business owners in this world. One type is a business owner who leaves the business for their children to run, and the other type is a business owner who sells their business and moves on. So what led Valentine to sell her business?
When you reach at a certain point and you feel, I'm pushing this with so much of me that there's nothing of me that is left. I had reached at that point. When I started Nekesa Queens, it was blooming, it was amazing, it was such an amazing thing. And here's the thing, that just as you've said, it was my baby and I was so in love with my baby, and I kept pushing my baby, and I pushed up to a point where I felt I can't keep pushing it. It was a business that when it can no longer function without you being there, then honey, that's not a business. It's no longer a business. You're no longer an entrepreneur. You're just a shop owner, or you're just a fashion owner. You get. So when it got to that point where I wanted to be released, I wanted my freedom out of it, and I got a proposal of someone felt they can keep pushing it, I had to hand over the franchise, because honestly, I could no longer keep pushing it. It got to a point where if Val is not there, nothing can be done. It can't be pushed. Nothing goes on without me being present. So it was time for me to let it go.
And what happened next?
There was a lot of other things that I was already involved in. Beginning, I got into mentorship, and then I discovered I can also go another direction of fashion. I can not only, you don't really only have to be doing clothes. I can get into accessories, and then I figured, there's something else that my account being built up as. The brand name by itself, Valentine Nekesa. It stands on its own. I also got to figure that out, and I'm like, okay, so I can also get into influencing as Valentine Nekesa. I can get into mentorship as Valentine Nekesa on her own, and not necessarily Nekesa Queens as it was. They were two separate entities, which I'm really grateful that I got to separate those two things, because I can now function differently. But Nekesa Queens is gone, so there's now Valentine Nekesa. And Valentine Nekesa can build an accessory brand and can build something else out of Valentine Nekesa. And that's took me a while. Took me a while to sit down with myself and try and figure out. So Nekesa Queens is now gone. So what's next? What's next for you as Valentine? And then it just hit me. It's all been there all along. It's been on my face. You've been doing mentorship. You've been getting influencing proposals, and yeah, you can build something out of it. And that's how we're moving now.
Sometimes things in life happen that allow us to understand our priorities very clearly. For Valentine,
the reason as to why someone starts a business to begin with, there are actually three reasons. The first reason might be to make money. The other reason is to sell it. And the third reason will actually be to pass it on to your generation. So being a family person, now having children, my priorities have changed. I want my children to be able to have something that they can call their own if they feel this is something they want to get into. So when I'm building something, or when I'm working on something, when I'm working on a business, or I'm working on an idea, or I'm working on building up a brand, I'm working on it for them. Initially, it would have just been, I want to make money out of it. That's all, and that's the end goal for it. I just want to build it, make money out of it, and probably if I can sell it, brilliant. I'll make more money out of it and probably start something else and make money out of it. But now I'm building names and brands, like my accessory brand. It's called House of Zita because it's after my children. It's named after my children. So I'm building it for them. And anything else that I'm touching or anything else that I'm trying to raise, I'm raising it for them. So my priorities are now on a different level, yeah.
In Valentine's words, She's not only an entrepreneur, but a lady set on creating a unique brand that will encompass all things fashion. We got to hear about her newest project.
House of Zita is basically accessories and it's sunglasses. We're mainly focused now on sunglasses, probably thinking of moving forward into jewelry, which will also be called Zita. But currently we're just on sunglasses and glasses in particular, eyewear.
Happiness is not a matter of intensity but of balance, order, rhythm and harmony. At such a young age, Valentine wears many hats. But how exactly does she find balance?
I have an amazing supportive system. My husband is the most amazing person I have ever met, and he gives me the backup, he gives me the support, and I think that's what someone needs to keep pushing on. You just have those people who, when you're feeling down or when you're feeling, because there are days that I do feel that I feel I gave too much to my work, or I gave too much to my business and less to my children, or I gave so much to my children and something always has to feel it's not on the balance, it's not meeting the scale. But when you have a support system that keeps telling you, you can do it better, you will keep doing it, because there are times that I feel maybe I should just stop entrepreneurship or stop going on and creating more ideas and try and focus more on my children. They're so young. I need to give them all the attention and the focus they need. And when someone reassures you that you can actually create a balance, which you actually can, and keep believing that you will be given the divine strength to keep pushing on, it's so amazing to keep getting that sort of reassurance, because it is true. We serve a mighty God who he actually can give you the strength, because he's given me. I believe he can give it to everyone else.
Valentine Nekesa seems to have everything figured out, but all entrepreneurs have their ups and downs and moments of self-doubt. For Valentine,
I can say the biggest challenge for me personally, I don't know if everyone goes through this, is the idea that I have to wake up every single day and I have to make this thing make money for me. You know, when you're starting something, or when it's still growing, or when it's still trying to pick up, the idea that you are not making money while sleeping. You have to keep pushing it for it to make the revenue that you need it to make. That thought is the biggest challenge that I go through every single day. That what's the creative thing, or what's the brilliant thing that we're doing today to keep pushing this thing to keep growing? It's the biggest challenge. And the other thing is results. I think it's something that people go through. It's a challenge that people go through. When you're beginning something, or when you're doing something, when you're getting into a venture, you have an end goal that you're trying to target. Whether it's to make that money, whether it's to build your name out of it, whether it's to grow big out of it, getting the end results to be as what you had perceived it to be. It's a challenge that I personally face.
for young entrepreneurs, life is synonymous with progression. It is constantly accelerating towards a goal. Here are some quick tips to get you on the move.
No matter your faith, pray to whoever you believe in. Just pray and make sure the spirit is settled about what you're trying to get into. Do your research. Research is pretty important. We always keep the process of research because I just want to get into it. Let me get started. And that's the third thing, get started. But before you get started, honey, do your research. You have to do your research and make sure that what you're getting into is something that you are ready for the obstacles, because they will always be there. You've got to be prepared for it. And how to be prepared for the obstacles that are coming is doing your research. Do your market research. Identify, am I solving a need? Am I just replicating what is happening in the market? Or this is something that I'm passionate about, strong enough for me to keep pushing through with it. Get started. We keep waiting for a lot of things. I need funds, I need support, I need proper firm foundation. Get started with what you're thinking about doing.
Last week on The Scope, we discussed reasons why savings and investings are particularly important for entrepreneurs. This week, Brenda Manyara will take us through personal finance tips for young entrepreneurs. Blurring the lines between business and leisure is never a good idea. The need to separate business and personal finances is imperative when starting a business.
As we've mentioned, definitely keep your accounts separate. If you can, pay yourself a salary. If not, just at least keep the accounts separate and monitor what goes where.
Cash reserve refers to the liquid assets your company keeps on hand to meet short-term and emergency funding needs and can also be referred to as a cash flow reserve.
Cash reserves. The cash reserve will be very, very handy on the months that you make a lower income.
How much debt is right for your business?
Debt, avoid it if you can, and if you can't, try and minimize it. Try also to keep your personal debt separate from your business debt, which I know, especially for young entrepreneurs, it's like, but I am the business, yeah? There's no actual differentiation between you and the business. Try and keep it minimum. And if you must borrow, ensure you know how you're going to repay that. Try and keep your credit history very clean. This will be especially useful when your business eventually grows, which I imagine you want it to. Having a good credit history will be very useful for you if you eventually want like funding or something.
Enterprises face various types of risks, some of which can cause a serious loss of profits or even bankruptcy. For this reason,
I encourage entrepreneurs to mitigate their risks. Already, business is quite risky. It's a risky investment. So where you can, have insurance covering everything else. So you can have business insurance, which is very useful. It covers stuff like the stock, if it's retail, the premises, personal liability, in case someone has an issue with the company.
Risk mitigation is a strategy to prepare for and lessen the effects of threats faced by a business. Why is health insurance especially important for entrepreneurs?
There's nothing worse than you or your child being sick when you have no money. Yeah, it's good to be prepared for that eventuality. And if you have dependents, you need life insurance so that should anything happen to you, at least they continue to be taken care of.
For many young business owners, a retirement decade in the future might seem like an abstraction when there's an enterprise to run with endless day-to-day demands. But
you also need a pension plan. So as I mentioned, the individual pension plan is very useful. I know, again, especially when you're young, you don't imagine that one day you'll be retiring. But it's good to prepare for it. Even if you think of it as just, at least I know in 10 years' time, I'll get this lump sum, I can think of something to do. In the retirement planning, you should also start thinking about, where will you live? Most people consider mortgage a thing that is only for employed people. If you don't think you can afford it, just start planning for it. Maybe save more in the SACCO so that you can eventually maybe build your own house.
every financial planner will tell you to diversify your investments. Here's what that means.
Let the business not be your only investment, because unfortunately, the chances of business failure are pretty high. Have other investments and be very careful when selecting these investments.
This week on She.
Is there such a thing as when the time is right?
When the kids are growing, when you have a demanding job, you feel like he's an adult and he can take care of himself.
Of course, the support system, the routines, and also just intentionally saying, okay, enough of work and now it's time to actually bond with my son, or enough of bonding with my son and now it's actually time to work.
At the end of the day, you have to ensure your mental well-being is okay.
That's this Wednesday at 8:30 p.m.
Franklin Roosevelt once said, "We cannot always build the future for our youth, but we can build our youth for the future." Approximately 75% of the African population is under the age of 35, equating to at least 845 million young people, providing our continent with incredible potential. But despite this, many circumstances continue to limit our potential. This is where the Youth Cafe comes in.
My name is Willie Sonyango. I serve as the Executive Director of the Youth Cafe, which is a multi-award-winning, youth-led, youth-centered organization with its headquarters here in Nairobi. The Youth Cafe's journey dates back to the year 2012, in September, when myself and a group of 12 talented young experts in their own right were selected by the United Nations to give input onto the work of the high-level panel of eminent persons at that time for post-2015 development agenda, what later on came to be known as Sustainable Development Goals. So that formed the basis, and the multidisciplinary group that was formed out of that was tasked with proposing youth recommendations with respect to what they would want to see in the next set of global goals.
Young people are a tremendous and essential asset worth investing in. For Youth Cafe, they hope to open the door to an unparalleled multiplier effect. But what exactly do they do?
We are a learning organization, and our programming is evidence-based. So we identify the gaps that exist within the youth programming in the region and in the country, with a view of proposing innovative solutions and fostering a pathway in which young people can be front and center of development agenda.
Since its inception, the organization has been in the front line to ensure the talented youth of Africa are allowed to step up and play their role to foster a budding economy. But how do they intend to do so?
We work with young people on universal health coverage reform, with the focus on psychosocial support, mental health, and sexual reproductive health rights for youth. We work on arts and culture, as well as sports for youth, with a view of working with young creatives and harnessing their potential to contribute to what we call the creative economy. We also have a programming around youth on businesses and entrepreneurship, working with young entrepreneurs as well as startups to nurture their businesses and offer startup capitals. And last but not least, we work on a pillar of work related to environmental preservation and climate change, bearing in mind that young people have the most abiding interest to protect the environment for the current generation and the future generation. So all these 8 provide the framework under which we conduct our activities.
Up to date, the Youth Cafe's cumulative projects have been able to reach 2 million young people directly. However, as a purely non-profit organization, we were curious to find out some of the challenges they encounter.
If you were to rank, challenges on a scale, then it would be challenges related to access to opportunities and jobs. It would be challenges related to access to education and skills, and particularly quality and affordable education at highest levels. It would be in relation to access to health, that is again high quality and affordable, and also youth friendly and youth responsive, because these are some of the gaps that we see. But along the way, of course, there are challenges within our own programming. Young people are very mobile. Today they are here, today, tomorrow they are not there. They have changed cities, they have changed locations. So sometimes it becomes a challenge to track or to have a consistent record of young people and walk the journey through with them consistently, because of the age where they are in, and the locations where they are based from one point to another. They could be in a school here, but the home is different, or is living here, but an opportunity arises elsewhere. So that becomes a challenge in terms of follow-ups, because we, as I said, we are a learning organization, and we would want to follow our young people who we work with from the start to the finish.
With the rising cases of unemployment, there are a lot of young people looking for such opportunities. So how does the organization select who benefits?
At the height of COVID-19, we worked with partners to administer the COVID relief funds for youth based in Nairobi, but from informal settlement. So in that case, it was clear from the funder, the person who is giving the funds, that the fund should benefit youth from informal settlements. These ages, so there's eligibility criteria of being part of a project to another, and they differ. The only overriding eligibility is the age, because we're a youth serving organization. So you have to be aged between below 35 years, and sometimes going up to even 15 years in some programs. But of course, our definition of youth is not different from that of the Constitution of age ranges of between 18 to 35 years. So beneficiaries are project-based. They are co-defined based on needs assessment, based on the negotiations we have with our own partners who support those programs. But generally too, the Youth Cafe has ways in which young people can get involved, and actually do get involved. You know, with a digital reach of 1.2 million visits on our platform, we increasingly see a lot of young people finding the Youth Cafe as a go-to place for information related to young people, for programs, for finding solutions to their problem. So we've created a mechanism through which youth can get involved through membership, and up to now we have over 147,000 registered members. These are young people who individually register to be members. Then they are part of a community who work in thematic groups. They network with each other. They meet new like-minded young people as them, facing same problems as them, confronting or coming up with solutions like they would want to do. So that is the membership. We also have a volunteering and an internship program through which young people directly benefit, and our particular internship program is one of the most sought after in the country. So it's a bit competitive, but it is also a platform through which young people benefit and get hands-on skills, and to bridge the gap between what is learned in high institutions of learning and what is needed in the labor market.
One such beneficiary is Asman Otieno, who lives in Kariobangi South. Asma tells us how he got to know of the organization and the impact it has had on his life.
I'm one of the youths attached to SOS CV. So I happened to hear about it in SOS, and that is how I got to know about the Youth Cafe.
The Youth Cafe's internship opportunities are highly competitive. We got the chance to hear from a young enthusiast who shares her profound experience of the organization.
I'm Masha Jumwa, and I'm a program associate at the Youth Cafe. And I've been here for past 3 months. It's been amazing. I think I've done so much. I've worked in other organizations, and in this organization I've done so much in the past 3 months. From what there's somewhere I've worked for 6 months, and compared to the experience I've had here, it's very, very good. Because you go out, you're given various tasks. You don't have to focus exactly on what you've done. So you can venture into everything. If you want to do social media, you can do film if you want, and then you get a vast, should I say, experience, yeah.
Most memorable moment?
Recently, we've worked with the BPU and the US military to set up a mobile clinic at Kitui. So we went as the youth to help the doctors in ushering in people, giving out handouts, giving out sexual education to the people who come to the clinic.
Parting shot.
My last word would be for young people also to maybe learn the story of the Youth Cafe. Purely 100% youth-led and youth-serving. This is a demonstration of the fact of what young people can do by themselves, not waiting for assistance from third parties or from quotas that may not arise or may arise, as case may determine.
Africa needs motivation to deal with challenges and requires courageous people who can initiate change in the world. Till then, we have 845 million reasons to inspire change. That's it for today on Youth on the Move. You can give us your feedback on 20316. Till next week, keep it Family TV.